Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Taylor, and welcome to Bedlam at Barleywine Basin, which is a Crittania game like we had 2 Saturdays ago. Over there in the storybook, we have the people who make it all happen. Up there in the top left, she's a staple here on Do Respite. How are you, Chantel?
I'm good. How are you?
I am also good and tired, but good. I have Rice Krispie treats.
May I have one?
No, they've been made with extra butter. Alicia made them specially for me for this evening, so they're mine. I will not share.
I will. Chantel will remember this.
Okay, that's fine. Also, we have a floating Benny going out into chat already from Frito for his resub. Thanks for your resub, sir. I appreciate it. Jumping down in the storybook in the column to the one and only Jeff. And hello, Flixie. How are you, Jeff?
Doing well.
I'm glad.
I think you have 2 Wallies in your storybook.
You stop telling me things that I don't want to know.
I am actually playing Owen, who's been going to therapy for his third person
What do you want to bet I
speaking.
Oh, that's what happened.
He went to Theodore Tortoise for his therapy sessions. He's working on referring to himself in the first person instead of the third person all the time.
How's that going?
Owen. He keeps remembering to say I before saying Owen. It's a step-by-step project. So
it's fair.
But
and the one and only Game Beast herself is here once again in cosplay. How are you, Sarah?
I'm good. I'm happy. I'm a squirrel.
You are a squirrel. I've never met a happy squirrel. All the squirrels I grew up around were the devil, but I'm glad you are a happy one.
Can't I be a happy devil squirrel?
That might have been what they all were. Sure. I have witnessed the squirrels that like leap from cedar trees and try and like parkour grab onto the bird feeder. You did never really feel bad when they missed, if I'm honest.
I don't think Sadie would ever miss.
That's fair. She is a marksman. That's what she's there for. So, speaking of people who are here for things, how are you, Sam? You're here for this game.
Good. I'm good. I'm excited to run around to small animals. Sounds like a lot of fun.
I certainly hope it is fun. I like when you're here, so
I like when I'm here too.
You're here. And then we have a newcomer, first time on the channel here for Do Respite. However, you have probably seen him DMing Unlawful Disorder over on Roll Society. He DMs it for channel regulars Chantel and Sam and Jamie and Drew, who was here on Monday. Wednesday, whatever night Drew was here. I don't know. It's been a long week. We have Michelle. How are you, Michelle? You're muted.
Okay. Does that work now?
Yes. You are now
right.
not muted.
Okay. So that's all right. So it turns out clicking's difficult. Not surprising. It's midnight. So thank you for inviting me.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for coming. Okay. So we are going to jump right in here. Last time we played this game, the Wardens of the Wild were founded after they saved Fenchurch Forest from a crocodile and an evil beaver and other assorted bad things. However, some time has passed since then. Roughly a year, actually, has passed since the fiasco at Fenchurch Forest. And you have all done various things, but the River Mark once again is hopping because, and it's probably hopping because there are rabbits there and the occasional frog. But that's not the kind of hopping we mean. There are a lot of people gathered at the River Mark because there's Bedlam at Barleywine Basin right now. And the Wise of the Wilds, that council of very smart, generally older animals, have called together once more a series of champions. However, unlike with the fiasco, they don't call all of the champions. They were more selective this time. But as you have received your missives and you are making your way to the camp, you are all very pleased to see a small wagon rolling in along the road. And seated in that wagon are 3 raccoons, 3 whippoorwills, and 2 nightingales. Because the council know that you will definitely need a soundtrack backing in order to accomplish whatever task it is that they have for you. But as you make your way, the 3 of you, exchanging greetings, Pryor and Owen and Sadie, the original Wardens of the Wild, you are escorted by Clive the Chipmunk, and he escorts you down the road and up toward that standing stone upon which sits Octavio the Owl, the head of the Wise of the Wilds. And you see 2 figures that you don't recognize seated in chairs along the outskirts of the room. One of them is a turtle, and one of them is a strange creature that you've never seen before. Appears to be some kind of mammal, but you've never seen this kind of creature in the forest or around these parts. And so as you approach the stone, Octavio hoots out a greeting, as he's inclined to do. Yes, my favorite, 3 of my 4 favorite wardens. Owen, Sadie, Stinky, how are you?
I'm not Stinky. My name is Pryor.
You are still Stinky. You will always be
No.
Stinky.
My name is Pryor.
You were knighted Stinky.
Pryor.
No. I can
Yes.
have Clive get the registration.
No, don't change my name again.
No, I didn't change your name. That's how it is in the Accords.
No, I
can
don't
show
like it.
you. It's not my
I
fault.
don't want to see it.
It's not my fault.
Please.
All right. It's good to see you, Stinky. And he looks around and he says, I don't know if you have heard, but there's Bedlam in the Basin. I mean, you can't hear
Not
it.
the Basin.
The Basin is miles from here, Stinky. We're not exactly sure what's going on, but we've sent out scouts recently. A few ravens, a couple of hares. No one has returned. So, we know that means there's likely Bedlam. So let's be fair, it's like speculative Bedlam. We haven't confirmed that there's
Probably
Bedlam.
the beavers again.
Maybe.
It would make sense if the beavers are causing bedlam.
Mm-hmm.
It would be.
It would.
Yes.
It would. Well, for this very special assignment, we have gathered together 3 of the 4 best champions. Unfortunately, the Badger was not available. She had other commitments. Something about a wedding. I don't really know. But we do have 2 other heroes with us. Allow me to introduce my longtime friend, one of the most decorated soldiers along the coastline, who was up here visiting his aunt. This is Sherman. And he turns and he points to the turtle, who's standing off to the right.
Actually, if you don't mind, Sherman is probably sitting down, head on his chest, actually snoring lightly.
Sherman. I was just telling them about how you're visiting your aunt and you're one of our most decorated soldiers.
Oh, very kind of you. Thank you. Yes.
Yes. You guys arrived a little bit later than we expected, so he was napping. And he kind of gives this side eye to Sherman. Yes.
Long trek.
No, it's fine. I understand. And then we have this very interesting fellow here who, and he turns and he looks and he's like, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Oh, mate, sorry. G'day. I'm Wally, the wombat.
I was brought over here as part of Marsupu Sans Frontier. So, nice to meet all you blokes and you Sheilas. This is going to be tops. Absolutely ripping, mate.
And he turns and looks at all the rest of you. This is why I can't remember what his name is.
Sherman will actually look at Octavio. What did he say?
And Octavio will just kind of shrug his wings. I haven't the fuckiest idea.
Oh, mate, she'll be right. Don't even worry about it.
Very well. I've heard on good authority that the Wombat he's quite experienced and a champion of his own in the, where did you say you're from again? The Down Under?
Yeah, mate.
In the Down Under, which to me just sounds like the name of a rabbit burrow, but apparently it's not.
Wombat Burrow.
A wombat, oh. That makes a great deal of sense. Well, you will be headed over to the river. There's a dock there. I'm sure that Owen can show you where it is. And you will need to board the boat that is there. The boat will be traveling downriver. You will get off at the corners where the three rivers come together. And from there, you will head south for 3 days. Or at least 3 days. It might take you a little bit longer, but you will know the basin when you see it. You will know it from the sweeping fields of barley that grow there. And then you are to suss out the trouble and find our missing patrols, our ravens, and our hares. Any questions?
Owen has no questions. I mean, Owen, have no questions.
Very well. Any of the rest of you? And he kind of
sounds pretty straightforward to me. I'm sure we can make it in no time at all. Yeah.
Indeed, the boat is being hauled against the current by some salmon. They are the best at that job, don't you know?
It is the barley where is it it's growing? I have allergies.
I believe it is nearing harvest.
Oh dear. Okay, thanks. Question from last game that I just realized.
Mm-hmm.
Does Pryor still have that, whatever it was that Pryor was spraying up their nose last time?
Yeah. You definitely still have snake oil. You've been back in touch with the slippery serpent who sold it to you.
Yep. So I've got that snake oil. I'll just spray some more up there, just in case.
Okay. It burns and is minty all at the same time. Okay.
I'm ready.
Very well. Make it to the boat. We'll see you there. And he flies off. And you are left to, you're told that departure's in about an hour. So you're left to gather anything that you would need to gather. Sherman, you're able to take that time to brew up a batch of your various alchemical sundries. And soon enough, within the hour, you're all standing at the dock as this majestic, hollowed-out log comes coasting down the river. And it's moving against the current. It's moving quite quickly. It has the Warden of the Wilds logo on the sail. There's a very fancy, carved leaping salmon figurehead on the front of it. And as you approach, a frog hops down off of it. He's like, I'm Captain Phineas. Nice to meet you. Is this it? The 5 of you?
It is indeed our noble captain.
Well, I'm not noble. I'm a scoundrel, a scallywag.
Okay.
I just don't want you to set your expectations that high.
I wouldn't have thought of it. No.
This is a good man. Turtle. Very well. All aboard and let's set salmon.
Mhm.
And he hops aboard the ship.
Okay, well, Sherman, of course, is pace 4. And so, for lack of a better way of putting it takes him a little bit to come up to full steam. So as soon as gangplank is available, Sherman is going to be on the way because everyone's still going to get there before he does, even with a head start.
Is he large enough that he takes up the whole gangplank so we actually just have to wait? Do we have a choice?
I'm going to say yes.
Like that.
Sadie just scampers over the top.
Yep.
Just up and over, and she's in
Sherman?
the boat before everybody.
Just over the
Up
twists.
and over, tree, turtle, logs.
Yep.
You can scamper over anything.
Oh, and probably
Owen
dives
jumps in the
underwater,
water.
comes up the other side.
Yep.
Pryor's just sort of
Pryor's just-
sitting there twiddling her thumbs, waiting. And by the time you get up on there, Phineas is just like,
Come on, wake up, young fellow. We got work to do. On there.
yes. And he looks up. Might glad we have salmon and not wind. It's already changed on us. And he leans over and he reaches into this barrel that's mounted at the front, and he pulls out these small, like, orange flakes. And he just kind of sprinkles them out in front of the water at the front of the Maidenhead. And there's this, like, lurching motion, and the ship begins to accelerate against the current of the river. And just every once in a while, you notice he walks up and just drops a few more flakes off the side of the ship. Every once in a while, he doesn't quite get it off the front of the Maidenhead. And so, like, the ship kind of jerks slightly as the salmon move to the left or the right to get whatever it was, but it quickly gets back on course. And you travel for the better space of the afternoon. As evening is approaching, Phineas comes hopping back to where you're all waiting. And he looks around. So, you're headed to the corners then? I mean, don't all speak at once. I hope you know where you're going.
Well, I've got a skill testing question for you.
Oh.
Where were you told to take us? That's probably where we're going.
I mean, the corners, but, you know. I mean, I can go back up front if you don't want to have small talk with an old river rat. That's fine. But
Wait a
Oh,
second. I thought you were
river rat, that would have been great. Dang it. Frog will be fine.
I'm okay with you spending a couple GM bennies to just retcon that he's
Just retcon it out.
Yeah.
Like, nope.
He also gets rid of the GM bennies, right? So I'm totally
He just
okay
like
with you doing that.
unzips and he's like, I'm just kidding. I was not a frog.
He's a river rat in a frog costume.
Yep.
I like that.
First time he looks up, you're like, God, it's got 2 heads.
But he looks around and he's like, yeah, to the corners. But I was just checking in, making sure that, you know, you weren't changing destinations. Or every once in a while when I do missions for y'all wardens, occasionally you give me directions, then you come on board with this little missive and you're like, we're just kidding. We have to go here, but we don't want people to know. It's very annoying. Just tell me where you're going in the first place.
But it's too
pretty
late
strict-
now.
Yes. What?
It's too late now. We're already on our way. So if we were going somewhere else, it's too late.
No, I mean, there's many places I could whatever. And he like hops away from Pryor, and then he comes back and he's like, "Oh, by the way, in the hold down below, dinner's there. You'll find a couple of nice mats to sleep on. We'll be mooring along, about midway through the evening." And he points like, "When the moon's about there, we'll pull over and we'll moor up for the night, get some sleep, let the salmon do whatever it is salmon do." Does anybody know what salmon? I don't know what salmon do.
They make a good dinner.
You leave my salmon alone. All right. I worked hard for these salmon. They're my friends. You got that, boy? I'm watching.
Owen understands.
And like as he walks away, you know how frog eyes are that big, huge thing, and they can like turn and be like sideways. He like turns his head away from you, but one of the eyes is still just like staring at you out of the corner. Sorry, you were muted, Michelle.
Chat window. The chat window is grabbing my spacebar. Sherman will eye the frog and gesture at the otter and say,
I think he was trying to tell you he's a cook and he appreciates salmon cuisine, not that he was going to eat the way we would actually achieve the mission, you dummy.
I'm still watching you, Otter. And his tongue like lashes out and like catches a mosquito. I hate South River bugs. And he bounces back over to the figurehead. A few hours later, you do in fact moor up. And as you turn and look at the moon, it is exactly where he told you it was going to be. And you are welcome to set watches as you would see fit. He does make it known to you that that is your job. His job is to steer the boat, and the salmon's job is to swim. You guys are to do all the soldiering. But who would like to be on watch first?
Sherman will volunteer to be on watch first, just so he can set an appropriate standard of on watchfulness, and that way he doesn't fall asleep too early.
I accept. Very well. Okay, so Sherman, go ahead and give me a notice roll then.
Sure thing. So let's see, what am I rolling here? That's a
You
wild die,
yep.
D6, and another D6. Okay. All right, you're gonna have to coach me here. I'm not used to this. So I've got a 6 on the notice dice and a 4 on the wild dice.
So
I think
you'll
that means
re-roll the DC.
the
You'll
six.
re-roll the one that was a 6.
Okay. And came up with a 4 on that.
All right, so a total of 10. Nothing seems to be happening in the woods this evening. You have definitely gone more south than many of these younger people will have gone. You may have been involved in some of the campaigns that took place down this direction. There was a rattlesnake incursion at one point that threatened the forest that you may have been involved with, but everything seems very quiet on the southern front this evening.
Okay.
Go ahead.
With regards to his prior knowledge, for lack of a better way of putting it, what does he know about Barleywine Basin? What's the terrain like? What sort of people have been known to hang out about there? Have there been threats there previously?
Okay.
Has he been there before?
So Barleywine Basin is essentially the breadbasket of Venture's Forest. You do a lot of trading with that group of people to get grains and things like that. It is a mixture of what you kind of see behind me with the rolling hills and slight peaks, but also just, United States prairie kind of stuff that the barley grows in. It grows right up to the southern edge of Venture's Forest. And you tend to more or less have this abrupt kind of shift as you progress out of the forest, as it thins out, and then you're suddenly in this big, vast, open prairie space that has these rolling hills and these mesas and plateaus. And it grows the barley out here, and it does kind of slope out and go down into a basin. As for if there has been threats here, Barleywine Basin is an incredibly convenient place to have battles. And as critters, you guys like to have battles in places that have good names, because then you can tell stories about them. So you have battles in Fenchurch Forest or at Barleywine Basin or those kind of things. There is a tribe at Barleywine Basin that sort of owns and runs everything. They're almost like a conglomerate. But they're a bunch of prairie dogs. And these prairie dogs, they kind of rule Barleywine. And they're renowned for making the interestingly fermented drink out of barley from which this basin gets its name. As for if there's been any threats, usually the prairie dogs are fairly neutral. They're kind of the Switzerland of the wild of Crittania. They don't really interact with a lot of people, so the fact that there is Bedlam here is fairly unusual. They frequently allow you to play host to battles here. They'll essentially rent out the basin so you can have a good old fight in Barleywine, but they don't tend to get involved. So the fact that there is actually a threat here is unusual as a thing.
The history nerd in me cannot tell you how much I appreciate you've actually done the will rent country for battlefield thing. I adore that. Because that's actually that was actually a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. All right, Sherman will be ruminating on that, which is to say, pacing back and forth while muttering under his breath. Well, actually, marching back and forth while muttering under his breath, which probably means if you're underneath him trying to get some sleep, what you're really hearing is from back at one end of the log to the other the entire time he's on watch and you're trying to get some sleep.
About 90 minutes before your watch ends, Sherman, you do see another craft coming down the river from the direction of Fenchurch Forest. It's a pretty simple craft. And you actually, even, I believe, I'm trying to remember, I've looked at a lot of character sheets today, but did you have Hard of Hearing? I don't remember.
He has hard of hearing. No, he has poor eyesight.
Okay, so you definitely hear it. You hear guitar and drums and probably a soft amount of fiddle coming down the river as the craft approaches. And in the distance, you're not able to make anything out, but you do see just the shadowy shape of that craft kind of pull up against the edge of the river, a couple 100 yards down from where you have moored.
Okay, so that was going to be my question: is if we had been pulled up onto the beach,
yeah.
or if we were sort of with a hook down and sort of just hanging head to flow or not. Okay. So Sherman will be adjusting his monocle and doing an awful lot of peering, trying to figure out exactly what it is that's going on over there. The music's very pleasant and all. It's that probably, is it that modern stuff that all the young people are listening to, or is actually some good music? Oh, okay. That's less interesting.
It's definitely good. It's a good mix, right? It's like that bridge. It's the, hey, we know this is this older audience and this is this newer audience. Let's build this bridge between those two musical types, and this does it very well.
Yeah, okay, I can probably forgive them their musical taste then. Now, Sherman, therefore, will now, in addition to be marching back and forth and muttering under his breath, will also be marching back and forth, muttering under his breath, and humming along with whatever tune is going on.
Okay.
Which is probably doing nothing for anybody. But yeah.
Okay. Yep. So the rest of your watch passes. They play for maybe 20 more minutes, and then it dies out. But then the rest of your watch passes, and I will let you decide as a player which of your fellow wardens you go and awaken to fill the next shift.
Probably the wombat, because he seemed to be all full of energy and stuff. Don't want, but want to make sure he's good and tired for tomorrow morning. So he'll get his sleep interrupted bright and early. That way, Sherman's got even odds of keeping up with him. Is the idea here. So yeah, we'll go rouse Wally. You young fella, with their cane. Time to get up. By the way, not a craft. It's just up the stream from us. They were playing some music and stuff. It's new jazz, whatever that thing's called. But anyway, not bad, but I could use some work. I suggest you pay attention to that because might be, I don't know, just doesn't feel right. But so far it's been quiet, beautiful night, nothing really going on. Your turn to do some pacing, keep a sharp eye out.
All right, mate. That's all good. Don't you worry. I'm a dinky diabogan over here, and I am as cunning as a dunny rat. I'll keep good watch. Heads up. When he gets onto the deck again, he sort of looks around and then sort of reaches into a pocket. He pulls out a pair of glasses and he puts them on.
Okay. Yep. So you put on your glasses and go ahead and give me a notice roll, Sam.
I mean, even with glasses, it's not great. Oh, actually, that's not bad. 7.
Okay. Yeah, so you kind of are looking out and you see that there is a small, like, flickering light that has been set up on the beach near the other craft up the river from you. And you see, with a 7, you see that there are 8 shapes kind of moving around this fire. And they don't appear to be doing really anything, but they just seem to have set up camp there and are waiting out the evening. The rest of your watch passes largely uneventfully. Unless there's anything you, Wally the Wombat, would like to do with your watch.
No, he's on the clock, so.
All right. So whilst Wally the Wombat watches, waiting for the waning evening to wax away, we will all wake. This is why this setting is fun. All right. So, morning dawns on our small group of critters, and Phineas the Frog has woken up, and he is serving you what is essentially oatmeal, but he tells you this is made from some of Barleywine's finest barley, just so you know what it is that you're going to save. It's made with river water. And the 3 other ones of you, as you awaken, you can see that craft off in the distance, a couple 100 yards to your north. And you have your breakfast uneventfully, and Phineas hurries you all aboard the boat. He thinks you should be able to make corners by around supper time, and he can have you to your disembark point just in time, essentially, to set up camp for the night before you head off once more toward the basin.
Does the other craft follow us?
It does. As soon as you have embarked onto the river, and once more Phineas lays out some flakes into the water and the salmon begin to go, this other craft also undoes its moorings and pushes out into the river. They are substantially slower than you. You see long poles extended down into the water, and they're essentially pulling their way along. to keep up.
So Sherman will spend the bulk of the day's travel telling anybody who doesn't run away fast enough on what is a very small log suddenly, everything he knows or has ever heard of, or all the interesting stories that were told to him by some other guy who he met once in a pub about Barleywine Basin, so that everyone's completely up to everything he might know about it, and everything he might have noticed about the boat that showed up, including every song they play while he was on watch, just so everyone is completely current with the situation.
Owen is riveted by this tale. He loves stories, and he loves listening to stories. He's
Oh,
just
and don't
utterly riveted by this
Don't-
awesome tale.
forget to use I.
I, Owen, enjoy your tale.
Much better.
Yes.
Keep
Yes,
practicing.
Dr. Theodore says that I, Owen, need to remember proper sentences and structure, whatever that means.
Yes. Sadie,
Yes? Yes? Yes.
are the people on this boat behind us, are they like the people that were following us before?
Were there people following us before?
Yeah, they were singing and playing music.
Oh, yes. The raccoons and the whippoorwills. Yes.
Yes. Are they singing the same thing?
So, asking Sherman what songs they have sung, he can confirm that none of the covers that he heard were Queen covers.
Sherman, did you ever hear them sing I Am the Champion?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't. I'm far too humble to make a claim like that. No.
Prior. I don't think these are the same. No, I don't think so. No.
Are there lots of different cover bands around for different what's going on?
Music is very important in Crittania,
Yes.
so possibly.
They're all composed of the same. I'm speaking to a voice that's coming out of nowhere. Do all of these bands have the same composition of raccoons? And,
Oh, no. Definitely not.
Oh no. Okay.
No.
No. Right.
Would you say that
I'm totally having like Winnie the Pooh flashbacks where Winnie the Pooh just like is talking to the narrator and he's like, it's on the next page, Pooh.
would you say that compositions of cover bands are Crittania's core currency?
I would in
Please.
fact say exactly that.
Please.
Well done.
Take my floating Benny.
I'm going to give you a Benny and Chantel's going to give you a Benny. So well done, Wally the Wombat.
You're both disgusting.
All right. So as you progress downriver, Phineas comes walking back. And he comes walking back to the group view. I'm noticing some strange things as we move further south. Take a look at those trees.
Which trees?
Just any of the trees.
All of the trees? Any of the trees?
Yes.
Only the ones on the left?
I don't care. Left, right, whatever.
Okay,
No,
yes.
left's a better example. Look left. And he
Okay.
turns and he looks left. And you notice, he says, you see how there seems to be less of them than normal. The forest is thinning much earlier than it should be.
It's those beavers. They're bad.
No, just the one beaver was bad. The other beavers were enslaved.
Yeah, I served with beavers. Clever engineer. Very good guy. Very.
You need to not be racist on my boat, Otter.
My cousin was killed by a beaver.
It doesn't give you a right to be racist.
I'm not
He stalks
racist.
away.
I rescued them last year. I'm just saying, when trees go missing, it's usually somebody
Hey.
that cuts them down, and beavers cut them down.
So do woodchucks.
Good point. Maybe it was a woodchuck.
Yes.
If he chucked the wood.
Yeah, but how much wood could a woodchuck chuck?
We don't know because we've never met him and we're not sure just exactly how much chuck he could chuck. If he would chuck, if he could chuck.
That's true. But if you look over there to the left, you can see that indeed much chucking has been done.
That's not true. There'd be piles of this stuff and it wouldn't look thinner. It'd look moved. Those trees are clearly missing because that's why it's thin.
You got a point. He's got a point.
Well, mate, trees don't just go walkabout. Someone would have had to have done it.
Sherman peers very cautiously at the wombat through his monocle.
I just said that. Were you not listening? Are you hard of hearing, young man?
Mate, I was agreeing with you, backing you up and all that.
Oh, sorry.
About half an hour or so after lunchtime, you may all give me a notice roll.
Eight.
4, 8, 4,
7.
2, 7. All right. Those of you who did not get 8s, but didn't get a 2. If you got a 2, you're really struggling, A, trying to remember to say I, and B, you were called racist, and that made you sad. So you're probably having self-contemplation over that. Meanwhile, those of you who got 4s or a 7, you are continuing to notice that the forest is indeed thinning, but you notice that the salmon are getting much more finicky about their course corrections. You're getting a lot more of that jostling from side to side as you're progressing downriver. Wally, you notice this, and you begin to take up position to kind of watch more carefully. And you start to see small pools, little patches almost, of some kind of orange-colored something in the water that it's almost like the salmon are drawn to. And then it's only in that last few minutes that you notice that there is kind of an estuary that comes off of the river, or comes into the river, that takes you off course. And the salmon jerk hard, and the boat kind of sloshes. And I need you to all please give me agility checks as this boat kind of careens very roughly.
Four.
4, 4,
5.
5.
I bennied my 3 and got a 6.
Sarah spent a penny.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to spend a Benny 1 sec as well. This roll was just garbage.
I will give you a Benny not to spend a Benny.
I'll play your silly little game, and I'll take the extra Benny, and sure, why not? So that was actually a 2.
Okay, so those of you who got 4s or higher, you managed to maintain your footing. Michelle, as Sherman feels the ship careen, he kind of goes up on one foot and he's sort of wobbling. And then I did roll for Phineas, and he did not succeed. So Phineas comes skidding across the deck of his own ship and bangs into Sherman. Sherman, you go down onto the back, onto your shell, your legs kind of kicking. But as you do, you hear this kind of crunch noise from underneath you. And as Phineas regains his feet and reaches down to help you, you lift your monocle, and it is just cracked all through in just this like prism almost fashion. As you set it on your eye, you're like, it is probably not going to do a whole lot for you in this moment. You are muted.
Now, this is gonna get awkward. No, that's just, well, it's unfortunate. So, where'd everybody go?
And he turns and like, you see Phineas. He like, I'm sorry. But then he like hops away very quickly, and he's on the end. You hear him like shouting to the salmon, "What are you doing, you freaking fish? This isn't the way you're supposed to go." And he's just shouting. And Wally, as you kind of regain your position, you can see that there are a bunch of these patches of orange leading back. And because you rolled so high, you guys will not be surprised by the rain of crossbow bolts that start to rain down upon the deck of the ship. And you hear, as the rain begins, Phineas dives behind a barrel, and he's like, "It's those rats! Those river pie rats!" And we're going to have a combat encounter here.
Oh, yeah, pie. Excellent, excellent. I was hungry.
As several of the rats, 5 of them, swing down onto the ship off of ropes from various trees along the branches, along the riverbank, and land on the ship with you. So, pulling cards here for initiative. First card goes to Pryor with an 8 of clubs. Owen is next with a 10 of hearts. Sadie is next with an 8 of hearts. Sherman gets a 5 of spades. I believe you're slow, so you can't get any higher than a 5 anyway, correct?
Mechanically, the only result...
Or is it just your pace change?
It's a pace change. He's got a -1 to pace and a maximum D4 run.
Okay, cool.
It's the minor hindrance is what he took.
Yeah, right, instead of the major. Gotcha. And Wally, there's your Jack of Diamonds, and you get an extra card that you can give to somebody, correct?
Yes. I'm hesitant, so I draw 2, but I think I draw 2 for myself as well. I get the lowest.
So your second card is a 3 of diamonds. Your pass out card is a 2 of hearts, which you probably don't want to give to anybody. And the pie,
someone really wants it.
The pie rats are a 10 of diamonds, which means the 10 of hearts will go first. So Owen, you get to act first, sir.
Right. Owen will take these filthy pirates out. Pirates. Right, voice?
They are pirates, indeed, Owen.
Mm-hmm. And I will stab pirate with my spear.
All right. The boat is totally small enough. You can very easily get to one without having to run.
Right in the sternum.
So you're called shotting?
It's just an S. So spear, stab this with a spear in the sternum. Yes.
All right. You stab the stinking scoundrel in the sternum with your spear.
That's better. Mm-hmm.
All right. What'd you roll on your fighting roll?
Four.
That's
I'm
not
not Benny
gonna
that.
do it. Okay.
Exactly the same thing.
That will indeed still not do it. Okay. Next up are the 5 pirates who are on your ship. They are going to converge upon Owen, who has initiated the hostilities toward them. Well, toward them on the ship. I mean, they started the fight, but he tried to stab one of them with a spear. That somewhat seems suspicious. So he's going to swing his sword. He's going to get a 1, so he will not hit. But the other one will move to Owen and also swing his sword, this time with a gang up bonus of +1. And he will roll a 9 against Owen's parry of 7, dealing his 2d6 damage against Owen.
Now you should have a +1 toughness. Just keep that in mind.
You have +1 toughness, which means this 8 will no longer shake you because you have a floating temporary 9 based upon Wally's existence. Okay, so that's 2 of them. Another one is going to move toward Pryor, and he's going to actually wild attack Pryor. So he's carrying like this large hatchet, so he will take a wild attack, which means he gets +2 to fighting and damage, but he is vulnerable, so you'll get +2s against him. 6, 12, 18, 19, 21, 22. Sorry, 20, 21. So 21 to hit you against your parry of 6, which I believe will hit you with a raise.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. Who knows?
That's going to go badly for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there any such thing as an interrupt or a reaction?
What are you trying? What are you trying to do? Not really, because they did beat you on initiative as a thing.
Okay, essentially what I want to know is, since I seem to have a spare Benny from a broken monocle, if, for lack of a better way of putting it, because he's just literally wandering around trying to figure out what the hell's going on because he can't see anything, he literally blunders into the middle of the fight, and thus would actually take that attack himself.
Sure, you can spend a Benny to take that attack. Okay, so that will hit you. It will not get the raise, however, so it will do less damage. So you will still take 28 damage
28
against your
damage.
toughness of 12.
Yep. So, yeah, so literally he's just kind of, what's going on? I can't see anything. And literally just walks in.
Yeah, just walks into this hatchet strike. So that is going to be shaken with 3 wounds, is what you will become. You may spend a Benny here to make a vigor roll to soak if you'd like to, or you may just be shaken with 3 wounds. That's up to you.
Well, 3 wounds functionally means he's out of the fight, doesn't it?
No, 4 is where you're out of the fight.
All right. So yeah,
3
I'll
means
also...
you're largely useless.
Okay, so yeah, I was just gonna say, so yeah, I'll make that. I'll try and make that vigor roll. It's probably not gonna work. He's not. He's elderly. Doesn't have a very good vigor.
Okay, go ahead, and I've spent the Benny, so you've spent 2 this round. Go ahead and roll your vigor roll.
And that's with the wild dice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Wild dice was a 6, so I open-ended.
Okay, roll the 6 again.
And a 2, so it would be an 8.
Okay, so you soak 2 of the wounds, which leaves you shaken with 1.
Now, what does the shaken effect do?
It means at the start of your turn, you need to make a spirit roll to be able to act with anything other than movement in your turn.
Okay.
And then if somebody attacks you, you are already shaken, so it's technically easier to hurt you overall. That's the thing. Okay, so that means that the other guy will move in, and now that the turtle is present, he will also wild attack at the turtle. And he will get a 1, so even with his wild attack, that's not going to matter. And the 5th guy is the guy who had the crossbow. So he's going to kind of look around, and he's going to see Sadie sitting back there with her bow. And he will take a pot shot at Sadie. And he will roll a 10 to hit Sadie. which will indeed do so with a raise, because I don't believe you have any crazy range defenses. Okay. $13 versus your toughness of 6, so shaken with 1.
Yes, I would like to spend a mini.
Okay.
And soak it.
Go ahead. And I'm going to steal your floating mini for this one. From Frito's resub.
And I got a 5.
All right. So you are nothing because you soaked the 1. So no shaking, no nothing. Cool. Moves us to the 8 of hearts, which will be Sadie. Crossbow guy just shot at you and missed.
So without moving,
Mhm.
because she has marksman, she takes aim at him. Called shot. She shoots right for his head.
Okay, so
Nobody shoots at Sadie.
you'll be at a -4 plus your 2, so -2 total.
Okay. She's going to take it.
Okay. Shooting at a -2.
She rolled an 18.
Oh, yeah.
She's upset.
You done hit him with a raise.
$14 damage.
All right. So yeah, he shoots. You kind of turn to the sideways. It like brushes through your tail a little bit. Then you just spin, pull out the arrow, kind of. You don't even squint because you're Sadie. You just look right down that arrow shaft, and it just thunks the poor rat right between the eyes, and he falls off the boat into the river. Okay. Prior. A turtle has walked between you and the guys who were trying to kill you.
Prior is slightly surprised by the appearance of a turtle. And yeah, Prior is kind of confused by the appearance of a turtle. It's shocking, it's surprising, therefore Prior is going to unfortunately release gas, but then try to punch one of the...
I'm going to spend a GM, Benny.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have you roll your your focus skill thing that you're using for that cloud.
Yes.
Yep. So roll that, please.
Mm-hmm. 9.
Okay. So Wally and Owen and Sadie, what did we determine the impact was of your stink cloud?
I believe it's just shaken. It can't do damage. It shakes.
And on a raise, it distracts.
Yes.
So the 3 of you are shaken and distracted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
As you can literally blame Chantel because Chantel's like, I'm going to release gas because I'm scared. So this is Chantel's own fault.
Sorry, but not sorry. But part of that was I wanted to try and punch one of them in the face.
Yep. So you can move in. Yeah. Now you get to actually take your turn.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was an unconscious emission.
Yes, that was an oops. A 6 to
That'll
hit.
hit.
$15 to punch in the face.
You indeed punch him in the face, and in fact, punch him so hard that he like stumbles back and falls off of the over the railing and into the drink below.
I don't like being nervous.
It's fair. Next up will be Sherman. So Sherman, on your turn, the first thing you need to do is give me a spirit roll to unshake.
You have a +1 to this.
Okay, so that's a D6 plus 1. Very good. Okay, so okay, stand with it. Okay, so total 7.
All right. So you have come unshaken, and you may now take your turn as normal. There are 2 pie rats directly around you. You remuted yourself.
So Sherman will look at the one that hit him with the axe,
Mhm.
which isn't the one who went over the railing.
Nope.
And
Good.
Would you there, young fella? First off, straighten up. Secondly, would you be careful with that axe before you hurt somebody?
And so he will begin to berate this poor rat for every insufficiency in his posture, his ability to hold an axe, just this litany of sins.
Mhm.
And he's also going to get a 45-second lecture in about 2.25 seconds, because cinematics, about how he's actually fought better rats than this. And this guy should be ashamed of the legacy he's bearing on being a pie rat.
Okay.
And then he's going to beat him with his cane.
Okay. So mechanically speaking, you are multi-actioning here. You're going for a taunt first, and then you're going for your attacks. The very first thing you're doing is going to make a taunt roll at a -2.
Okay. That would be a 5 minus 2, I think is a 3, so that doesn't succeed.
Well, this is opposed. So he
Okay.
has to make a spirit roll against it, and he will roll a 1. So it will succeed. So he is now vulnerable. So you may now make a fighting roll. You usually would be at a fighting roll -2 because multi-action. However, he is vulnerable due to his wild attack earlier, and so we'll give him the distracted from your taunt because he was already vulnerable. So you're just a flat fighting roll.
Okay, so, and that is, I think if I read this right, a D6 as well.
Okay.
Rolls a 4.
All right, that will not hit. Okay. Will bring us to Wally. First thing first, please. I need a spirit roll to unshake from you, sir.
Right. Okay. 5.
That will do it. You are unshaken.
Mates, and open their lunch. So just to clarify, there's 2 on Owen and 2 on Sherman
Yes.
currently.
So there's 1 on Sherman, 1 near Sherman who's firing across. Nope, he's dead. So yep, 2 on Sherman, 2 on Owen.
Right. All right. I'm going to sort of point out one of the ones on Owen.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to be like, "Oi, mate, why don't you come give a burl with me, you bloody flaming galah?" As I attempt to taunt him.
Okay.
10.
17.
Oof.
So he is indeed, he turns and looks at you, and he gives you the middle rat finger.
No call for that.
You call
I
me
will-
names.
Move up to him, I guess, and that would be it.
Okay. All right. New round. Dealing in same order. Prior. King of Hearts. Owen. 6 of Hearts. Sadie. 3 of Clubs.
Sadie should actually get 2, although with the 3 clubs, it doesn't really matter.
8 of Spades. It matters for Sherman because now Sherman gets 2 of Spades. Wally getting 2 cards. King of clubs and a 2 of diamonds. Floating card to give out is the 6 of diamonds. That will be an improvement for either Sadie or Sherman.
Would like it more.
Sherman can have it.
Done.
And bad guys will go first with an 8 with an ace of spades. The ace of spades. Which is actually the song that you start hearing coming from the boat that has followed you down the river. You just all of a sudden, like as you're fighting, you just suddenly hear this and you turn around and there's this guy with a guitar and a fiddle, and you see this new kind of very grungy looking face that you've never seen. He's a young raccoon, not one of the normal trio. There's now a quartet of them, and he adopts this very low, growly, raspy kind of Motorhead voice and starts singing the Ace of Spades to accompany you as you do battle, because it wouldn't be a Crittania game without a soundtrack. But spurred on by this much more them grungy kind of music, these pirates will begin their assault. One of them on Owen with a gang up bonus, also a wild attack, so at a +3. He will get a 10 to hit Owen, which will indeed hit, but no raise. And he will roll double 1s on his damage, so won't care. Other guy will get a 13 to hit Owen, which is a raise. He did also wild attack with his gang up bonus, by the way. (23) versus Owen's toughness of 8. So that is going to be 12, 16, 20. So not quite 3 raises. So shake him with 3.
Would you like to soak that with a Benny?
I am going to soak that with a Benny.
So are you using your Benny, or is
I was wondering if you wanted to use one of my
Wally
bennies
giving one of his 5 bennies?
for that
Yeah,
reason.
sure.
We'll use an Owen Benny. Roll that beautiful soaking footage.
Four. So
You soak 1, so shake him with 2, unless you want to spend another Benny.
no, we'll spend one of my own bennies this time.
Okay.
Just the one.
All right, so you, sir, are shaken with 2 wounds.
Those dice are grounded for the night.
It's not how dice work.
This is why you need 4 sets. Just saying.
I have like 5, I think.
Perfect. Top of the class.
I'm so done.
Behind me.
Okay, so the other 2 are both on Sherman, and they will again wild attack and roll a 1 and roll a 1. So they are both going to be vulnerable and not have accomplished anything for it. Next up, Pryor, it is your turn.
Gonna turn and punch something else. And then maybe kick another thing if it's close enough. I don't like pirates.
You are probably in range to hit 1
Okay,
at this point.
going to do that.
Okay. Go ahead and do that.
Six to hit.
That will hit.
Six damage.
Okay. He is shaken as you punch him in the face. Owen, first things first. I need you to please attempt to unshake.
I got a 15.
Yeah, that'll do it.
See, this is why I trade out dice.
That's not how probability works.
How
All right.
psychological it is for me,
All right, whatever you say. You play you. All right. I assume you are attacking.
I'm thinking of doing something a little special.
Okay.
I want to take my spear and take a running charge and take the rat off the side of the boat with me and kind of pin him to the riverbed with my spear.
Okay. So this will definitely be a thing. This will be an opposed athletics check in order to do it. The one that you're not pinning will swing at you as you go away.
Okay.
So that will happen first. Because if he shakes you, nothing happens. So 9 to hit you. And with your floating toughness, you have a toughness of 9. And he rolled an 8. So you are good to now make your opposed athletics roll here.
Okay. Ooh, they both exploded. Yes. The minus, so 14.
All right. So to be clear, you're trying to push him off, or are you trying to like kill him off?
I'm pinning him to the riverbed, so yes, I'm going to kill him.
So with that many explosions above his 1, well, so you can't do the damage and the push in the same attack. You would be multi-actioning, pushing, and then essentially fighting. But you can very much just like push him back and then sort of sweep your spear down under and take his legs out and send him over the rail into the water. And he'll be out of the fight. He just won't be dead. So we'll say you do that. You run with otter on land unusual speed because you're not really that fast on land usually. But
actually, I've been watching a lot of otter videos. They are quite nimble. Ask Sarah.
That's one of the weirder statements I've heard today.
And
they are quite
so
adorable.
Cute.
I was going to share one and say I'm trying to get into character, but I couldn't pick one. There were just too many. There's a whole couple channels that have pet otters, and they just do nothing but otter videos. It's adorable.
Oh, what weirdness have I wrought with this?
And there's actually a Twitter account called Emergency Otter, and it's exactly what you think. So check that out.
Oh, I am so going to follow them.
All right, so you've upended that otter. Or that rat. And the other two will kind of look around, throw their weapons down on the floor, put their hands up in the air. Like, it was his idea. And point at the one who just got thrown in the water. And effectively, the combat is going to be over.
They're still going to have to listen to 45 seconds of lecture from Sherman about bad moral choices, bad posture, and the fact that they probably really need to stop blaming other people for their own shortcomings. They made a decision to be here.
Yep. They definitely endure that tongue lashing from a turtle.
And Sadie's going to yell to that raccoon that was playing the wrong music. We are the champions. Yes, yes.
No, Freddie quit. We can't cover any of those songs anymore.
Matt, you got anything by Akadaka?
The hell are you talking about?
That should be right.
He like turns around and there's like this soft strumming, and he starts to sing "Boat on the River" by Styx. As you all,
Honestly, not a bad choice.
So good. Phineas, approaches and he's like, "Well done. But we have a problem. While you were dealing with those pirates, some of the other pirates dealt us a crippling blow." And you walk over, and there have been these lines that have been attached to harnesses that were attached to the salmon, and they've been cut. And you seem to now be salmonless. They appear
What
to-
kind of world do we live in where someone would think it's okay to leave someone salmonless on a river?
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. That'll cost a Vicky to fix. It's no good at all.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find him.
So, all right. So Sherman is going to take stock of this situation, and Michelle is going to ask a mechanical question.
Mhm.
What's the strength roll? What's the encumbrance of a boat? Because Sherman has the brawny edge, which basically treats all loads as one die lower. So can Sherman just literally just say, right then, pull his helmet on, jump behind the boat, and start pushing?
Between you and the otter, you could probably get the boat back into open water.
So there's going to be this bit of grumbling. He'll adjust his monocle, realize it doesn't do anything anymore, and just put it back in his pocket.
Don't you young folks worry. I've got this straightened out.
And like
And
as
you
you
will
start
literally-
as you start to push, he comes in, he's like, wait, I need to. So here's the thing. They don't like long voyages. We got paid really well. That's where we got all the flakes. They'll probably come back, but I need to kind of hang out here. You're only like half a day's march off of where you need to be anyway. But for plot appropriate reasons, I'd really appreciate if you get off the boat now.
Sherman's going to look at him.
Oh, if it's plot appropriate, of course we'll do that. I mean, what do you take us for?
And Sherman will just climber up onto the beach.
Come on then, we gotta get marching.
And he like looks at you like as you're all getting off, he like goes up to Pryor and Wally and he's like, it might be a little bit longer than half a day march because you got to march with the turtle, but you'll get there.
Oh, mate, no welcome furries. Be beyond Black Stump. We'll get there in the end. You've been real rigid-ditch, though. Tops.
Yeah. And he like hops back to the back of the boat again as you all descend the gangplank and begin your progression through the remaining woods toward Corners. It
The
takes
entire journey.
Go ahead.
The entire journey prior is like a dog going on a walk that doesn't know where they're going. Wherever anyone walks to, Prior just wants to get there first.
Okay.
So Prior has no idea where they're going,
Nope.
but
None.
is going to lead the charge.
Okay.
And Owen tend to his wounds.
Yeah. You could definitely get off the boat and give me a healing roll.
Owen, my friend. I have a
Yeah.
first aid kit in my pouch. I know some first aid. You look injured, Owen, my friend. Do you need some help?
Sadie, that would be. Owen would much appreciate your assistance.
Yes. Yes, sit here.
Excuse me, young man. You did that wrong. It's supposed to be I, Owen, or in your case, you, Owen. But you're supposed to be Owen, the I, not just Owen. You know, your instructor told you about this.
Right. I, Owen, would appreciate your assistance, Sadie.
And like at this point, as you guys are doing this, you see like the other boat has like moored up and you see that a bunch of raccoons and whippoorwills and nightingales are like climbing down off with instruments on their bag.
11.
Okay. Yep, so you take care of those 2 wounds. All right. So they hang out at the coastline waiting for you guys to progress. And as you begin walking, they hang back a plot appropriate distance to give you space to be the heroes while they're just your backing soundtrack. But as you're going, you start to hear "On the Road Again" just strumming in from the back, and you look back and you see this young kind of grungy raccoon, and he's got actually a really nice voice when he decides to use it for something other than screaming. And so he progresses through, and you get several of those very travel-oriented songs. You know, you get some "On the Road Again," you get some "Here I Go Again on My Own," you know, but he says "our own," not "my own." You get some, you know, "Almost Heaven," West Fenchurch Forest, and he just covers some "Take Me Home Country Roads."
At some point, Sherman's going to look at Sadie as he's marching along very stoically. Do love a parade, don't you?
Yes. Yes.
And at last, you guys are beginning to notice now there are a lot less trees here than there should be. And as probably Sadie, being the most tree affinitive, which may not be a word, but I don't care, you approach where there should be a tree, and there's just this large hole where there should be a tree. And as you approach several of the others, there are places where there's just been like earth flattened down and like tamped down. And it just looks like the trees have just been outright removed.
Hey, look. No stumps. Should be stumps. Should be trees. No stumps. Why no stumps? Only holes. Holes. And dirt. But no stumps.
Well, that certainly seems serious. I mean, I've heard of a receding tree. I've heard of a receding hairline before, but never a receding tree line. This is awkward.
Do woodchucks leave stumps? They should leave stumps, yes? Yes?
Well,
Beavers leave stumps.
It depends on the strength of the woodchuck, because the question, of course, is how much wood can a woodchuck chuck? And that depends on, therefore, at what point they would have to cut the tree, because if the tree was too heavy, they would just leave part of it behind.
Yes? I do not know much about woodchucks.
What if they cut the tree off down at the base, and but then there'd still be a stump?
No, except there are some of these that are just holes, like they haven't been filled.
We should continue. Yes.
Is
Keep
there-
following these holes.
Would there be a way to tell, like, does it look like the tree was pulled out of the ground, or does it look like the tree went away?
Give me a notice roll. And as you're doing this, your backing band begins to sing the Dig It song from the Disney Hole movie.
5.
Okay. So as you're investigating, these were very clearly dug out of the ground. There's no serious like wrenching or ripping indications. These were very clearly dug. And actually, as you're making that notice roll, you kind of look down in, and not only were they dug out, but they appear to have been dug out from underneath. There's no kind of like drag marks or anything around where the trees would have come up out of the ground. But as you look down into the holes, these holes are a lot deeper than they would need to be to have gotten these trees out?
Well, it seems obvious. It's sapper gophers. The only question is, I mean, tree sapper gophers, right?
I mean, that might be so, mate, but I mean, Dad said someone earned a quid doing this. It's a lot of work.
I have no idea what you said, but it certainly sounds to make sense to me.
Well,
Your backing band begins to go, money, it's a trip. And you get some Pink Floyd cover going in the background.
guess what I'm saying, mate, is they did it the hard way. You don't pull a tree down from underneath. That's just a lot of work. You have
Unless
to have a
that's
real
the
good
easy
reason.
way.
What the Sheila said.
Might be the easy way of doing it, depending on who you are.
It's a bloody good point.
So animals that dig? We're looking for animals that dig, not animals that chew. Dig. Yes?
And they need to be either
Yes.
really big or a lot of them.
Yes. There's no elephants here, is there? Magical voice in the sky.
I'm gonna go out on a limb actually and say go out on a limb in a forest game.
Yeah. No.
I'm gonna
You
go out
lose
on a
a
limb.
GM, Benny.
I lose nothing. I'm gonna go out and say you actually wouldn't know what an elephant was. I mean, nobody knew what Wally was.
Oh,
That's
and
true.
Sherman doesn't know either, but he'll give you a 3.5-minute lecture on why elephants are grasslands creatures and don't dig.
It's not the digging, it's the. Never mind. It's okay. I don't know what it is.
Okay. It is night is falling at this point.
We should camp. Yes. Yes, we should. We should find a safe place to sleep. Yes. Sadie will find one. Yes.
Okay, give me a survival roll, Sadie.
Do we have a sense of how much ground we've covered?
Roughly 2/3 of what you should have.
I got a 5.
Yep. You managed to find a copse of trees that has not vanished, suitable for putting a shelter together. There are like scattered broken limbs and stuff from the trees, so you're able to cobble something together and set up shop to take watch. Who would like to go on watch first? Are we having Sherman do it again, or since he's missing his glasses, does one of the rest of you volunteer?
Owen will. Owen will watch. Owen will watch.
Volunteer for second watch. Second. Yes.
Briar's gonna, before going to bed, spend time running up and down trees because they haven't covered enough ground and Prior has too much energy to just stop.
Okay. You wear out
Um,
mentally before you wear out physically because you're running up and down like the same 3 trees.
Sherman will take advantage of Pryor, and as every time Pryor goes by, because Sherman's not moving, he's just standing in the middle of the 3 trees. So every time Pryor goes by, you're just sort of this W pattern. He'll say, right, when you get to the top of that one, look that way and tell me what you see. All right, now when you get to the top of that one, look that way and tell me what you. So he's basically going to use Pryor zooming up and down these trees as a way of sort of mapping out the surroundings around them so they get an understanding of what's around.
Okay, so to the north, Prior, is Fenchurch Forest. To the south, where you should see the glistening golden in the sunset fields of Barleywine Basin, you see nothing but brown. Not the golden amber colors you should be seeing, but just brown. And as you look to the east and the west, more brown and lots of, as you're up there in that kind of fading light, you can see that the holes from an aerial view, where the holes have been filled in are different colors because the dirt is a different color. And you can see that for as far as your eye can make out in those three directions, it's just been deforested. Which you do muse silently to yourself, no, this in a forest would indeed constitute Bedlam.
Prior will, on the way past, doesn't stop running, just communicates the information while running. But then on the way back, at one point, just say, "It's Bedlam," and just keep running.
Of course it is. That's why we're here. But okay.
And indeed, upon Prior's revelation that the council's choice of Bedlam as a noun was accurate, we're going to take a break for 5 minutes. So we will see you all in 5 minutes on the other side to further look into Bedlam. So see you in a bit. And we're back. So, thanks for bearing with us during our break. But we're going to begin with Barleywine Basin. So, you're all there, having realized that Bedlam was indeed the correct word. Sadie, at this point, you probably with Owen's help and a little bit of Wally's help have managed to get the shelter put up.
Sherman, of course, is more than willing to stand there and point with his cane about a better way to do things because he actually has survival as a skill as well, so can help that way.
Yep. So you...
except that it's going to involve an awful lot of peering because, of course, he can't see much further than about that far in front of his face right now.
Yeah, so I think that he points at something. He's like, no, you need to do this way. And Sadie's like, sure. And then looks down and like has done it that way. Sherman just can't see that it's been done that way. So it's like, right. But
yeah, she just nods her head and keeps on doing what she was doing, like not letting him know she's ignoring him, but she's kind of just ignoring him and doing her thing.
Okay. Excuse me. So, evening begins. You have all gathered inside the shelter. Owen, go ahead and give me your notice roll.
Evan.
Okay. You don't notice anything particularly out of the normal for the evening. You do hear one of the feminine voiced birds as you're all laying down begins to sing a lullaby to you all to help you drift off to sleep. You get some...
Sherman, before the lights go out and the singing begins, Sherman is going to ask the very obvious question.
So, when they show up at around 3 o'clock in the morning, because that's when everything like this happens, and they try and start pulling one of these trees down, what's our plan? And you can ask me right now how I know they're going to grab one of these trees, and the answer is there aren't any other trees left to grab. So when they show up looking for trees, it's going to be one of the ones we've got our tent tied to. So then what?
I'm probably going to get a bit nervous. I'm sorry.
No, Prior. Stay calm. Calm. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. What the heck is bothering me? Calm.
3, 2, 1. What the heck? What?
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
No, maybe I'm saying that wrong. Maybe it's the other way. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me? There, yes,
What the heck is bothering me?
Calm.
Okay.
Calm.
I'm
And then
calm.
when the tree disappears, you'll be calm, yes? And you'll wake up, because I'll wake everybody up, yes. And then we'll charge. Or dig. Can we charge after things that dig? Yes. We'll charge after them. Maybe.
Yes. Yes.
Mate, if things go Burko, we just get in position and cream them. She'll be right.
Sounds like a solid plan.
I like cream.
I don't know what Burko means.
It's putting cream on something. You just said that.
Oh, well, if they put cream on something, I'm not going to say no to that. I like cream too. Good idea, Wally.
Good night, mates. Rolls over.
Yep, and you hear a cover of the Sophie B. Hawkins classic As I Lay Me Down come drifting across from your...
All right, I have to ask, how much time do you spend working through the playlist that you don't actually play, but just cite titles?
Zero. I just have a large breadth of song knowledge in my brain.
Like if someone wants to go and and make a playlist on Spotify or something.
It is an option. You can catch all of the songs in our VODs on YouTube tomorrow. But so, as those dulcet tones, the "As I lay me down to sleep," come drifting through the air, and you guys begin to sleep. And nothing seems to happen. And round about 3 o'clock in the morning, as your watch comes to an end, you go to awaken Sadie the squirrel so that she may take her turn. And we'll pass Sadie. It is your time for an auto notice roll.
Ten.
10? All right. So you are very alert at 3 o'clock in the morning because of what Sherman has had to say and previous knowledge of the way things work. 3 o'clock passes uneventfully. 4 o'clock passes uneventfully. 5, 6, 7, and 8 pass uneventfully. And as you awaken your friends for breakfast, and you are making your fire, and you are putting on yet another pot of those wonderful barley meal breakfasts, it is then, in the early light of morning, that the tree which Sherman is leaning against and that Wally is probably gabbering his ear off in a dialect that Sherman's not quite following, begins to shake. And the ground beneath you begins to shake. What would you all like to do?
Sherman is going to look at the ground in absolute disgust and begin berating whoever's under there about being so plot inappropriate as to have not shown up at 3 o'clock in the morning when it was supposed to have happened. What the hell is wrong with the quality of villain in this story?
Indeed.
And Owen's gonna look over at Pryor and say, "Stay calm. Calm."
I'm
1,
going to need you
2,
to make a
3.
spirit check here, Pryor.
1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. What the heck is going on? No.
Did you roll double ones?
No. Yes.
All right. So the way double ones are going to play out in this particular situation is that I'm going to instantly cause a raise on your emission. And
Oh,
that
no.
emission is going to cover the entirety of your party, which will render the entirety of your party both shaken and, in fact, distracted by the just horrible stench. Sorry, you are muted, Michelle.
So is that shaken and stirred?
Possibly, yes. Possibly. It is quite a stirring moment. And in fact, the smell is
Shaken,
so bad
not stirred.
that it has shaken your accompanists, which will leave you musically bereft for the beginning of this combat. Or whatever happens. You don't actually necessarily going to end up fighting. But, Sadie, as you're all kind of recovering and looking up, you watch as that tree just drops straight down. There's crumbling and cracking as your shelter, which is attached to it, snaps into bits. There's a big whoosh of air blowing out your fire, tipping over your breakfast everywhere. It's very rude. And then the shaking resumes on the next of the 3 trees in this triangle. And you all will remain shaken, moving into whatever the next encounter is. But what would you like to do in this moment?
Is there like even like momentarily, is like a tunnel that the tree leaves as it just goes underground?
Yeah, there's just that big hole. Yeah.
I was going to jump in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably just like Stroth, and then just
All right. Pryor and Wally just like Wally's like waving his hands to like get the stench out of his nose. And I'm gonna actually spend a GM Benny here and say rather than Wally necessarily jumping into the hole, Wally is stumbling around, like rubbing at his eyes, trying to get all the stuff out of his nose, and you just see this Wilhelm as Wally stumbles into that hole. And Pryor, feeling some semblance of guilt, swan dives, or skunk dives in this case, in after him.
bloody oath, mate, you got a bodgy belly. Ah!
my eyes burn. They burn.
You are muted, Michelle, and what are the other two of you doing? Sadie and Owen.
Well, Owen, they led the charge. Yes. Yes. Time to go. Yes. Yes. And Sadie jumps in the hole.
Yeah, and your band at this point has like stumbled to the edge and they look down. And one of the like older, kind of deeper voiced nightingales just begins to do time to say goodbye. Because the chances that they're following you down that hole are very slim.
I salute the magicians and step backwards into the hole.
Just okay. So you step in. Sherman, your comrades have gone off the.
Yeah, so Sherman can't see that.
Yep.
Of course. He's running around in circles, babbling his fool head off, something about a gas attack and the Hun and something else, and will blunder into the next tree. And when it goes down the hole, he goes with it.
Okay. Yeah. So you're there, and yeah, you're like blundering in that direction, and so like the tree goes down, and it is in fact one of the limbs of that tree, one of the ones that snaps off, but it just like catches Sherman by the back of the shell, and you just drop down with a thump.
So Sherman, of course, will adopt proper paratrooper posture for as an incoming attack turtle, which is to say retract all limbs inside the shell, and God help whoever happens to be under him when he lands.
Yep. Definitely. All right, so you guys all descend. I need Wally, Pryor, Owen, and Sadie to please make agility checks here.
Five.
Also a 5.
7.
11.
All right. So the 5, 5, and the 7, you're going to take half of the falling damage that you would otherwise take. So you will take 8 of the 17 points, which will be not going to have any kind of mechanical impact because it would have shaken you all, and at this point your smell shake would have faded. So you will just remain shaken at the bottom. Pryor, you manage to, like, as you're falling, just start to, like, whip your tail around, and it provides just enough wind resistance in an almost helicopter fashion that you manage to not crash down quite as hard. And in fact, you 3-point land like a super skunk. And as you look up, you're looking at this very strange creature with this really long snout and eyes like this. And it's just looking at you.
Hello.
Sound the alarm?
No, that sounds like a bad idea.
And you hear from the back, sound the alarm, sound the alarm, sound the
No,
alarm.
don't,
sound the
don't,
alarm, sound the alarm."
no, I don't, no, I don't think you should. No, that will just make me nervous. Don't do that.
And unfortunately for you, back down the tunnel after a chorus of alarm bells. I mean, after a chorus of sound the alarm, 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 you hear dong, 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 dong. And it just continues to echo down the corridors. Sherman, at this point, you are coming to extend your limbs out, and you get up and you look down, and it's very dark down here, and you have a hard time seeing. But there is, in fact, something very much like pile-driven into the soft dirt underneath you. There's just like this nose, like kind of sticking up out of the dirt below you.
So Sherman then at the same time will hear the ringing noise. So from the other end past the group, they're going to hear Sherman grumbling at someone about their inattentiveness and how clumsy they could be for having been under him. And then he's going to say, "Why didn't you tell me it was the moles?"
Indeed. Okay, so you all hear shouting of Sherman from down a different tunnel than where the bells are coming from. What do the four of you who are not Sherman want to do? Because for plot appropriate reasons, I feel like in her nervousness, Pryor probably just like decks the one guy who first called the alarm. So he's like, sound the alarm, sound the... And he just like goes down like a sack of potatoes.
What's the sort of space we're in? Like, is it like a...
It is a giant tunnel hole, and you're on like kind of softish dirt, and then there's a small tunnel that goes off in one direction that as you kind of look down that way, you see there is a log, not a log, a whole tree. Like you see like the top of a tree being pushed at you. So you just see like the leaves of one of the trees just coming in your direction. And then in the other way, there's another tunnel. The way that has a tree coming toward you is where you hear Sherman's voice, and the other way is where you hear the bells.
Is there enough room for us to get around the tree and go that direction?
Not. Most assuredly not. Tunnel appears to be exactly the width of the tree, and as you look at that tunnel, and at the tunnel you're standing in, at the tunnel in front of you, you realize that essentially what is happening now is you have to outrun this tree, lest it run over you. And, Michelle, if you are okay with it, to keep my party together, what I would like to do is, you know how trees that are old have kind of those, like, they try and shoot new young roots and they're kind of springy? I would like one of those to essentially snag Sherman by the foot, and he just gets in his shell and he pulls 3 of his 4 limbs in because his foot's like out of its shell just being dragged, and he just kind of skates along on his shell behind the tree, just sort of like, you know, boom, 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 along behind the tree, very Mario Koopa shell status, as your friends outrun this tree.
I'm okay with that, mostly because, well, bluntly, Sherman can't see anything to do anything.
Yep.
So until he's actually reunited with someone who might even perhaps have illumination, he can't, even if, like, he'd literally have to accidentally back into one of the moles pushing the tree to actually realize there was a mole in front of him. So yes, I think that's a reasonable way of dealing with the problem.
All right, so you're kind of looking around and you're berating things, and all of a sudden you just feel like this kind of like weird pressure at your ankle. And you look down, but in the dark and without your monocle, you can't really see. And then you just feel yourself like jerked. And you get that kind of like loss of gravity sensation of going over a roller coaster or when you're flying or whatever. And then you feel this hard impact on your shell, and you instinctively suck in everything, including your foot. So there's this little bit of like root inside your shell now. And you just feel yourself bouncing. Go ahead.
I don't know how turtles work in your world, but they don't fly that I'm aware of.
Nope, they do not. Indeed. But you probably have gone down a roller coaster before. So you've experienced that kind of guts going up and down sensation as you bounce heavily along.
Is it possible to like not so much outrun it, but sort of get to a pace that when it catches up, it's the relative speed's not so bad that you can actually sort of like jump onto a branch and ride the tree?
Sure, we can go with that.
Okay.
What that's going to do here, you need to make one of two rolls as an individual. You need to decide how you are dealing with this. And if you come up with a different solution, I'll come up with a different roll for you. But the current base roll setup is if you would like to outrun the tree, you are going to need in a series of 4 rolls to get 6 successes on athletics. So that's going to involve getting some raises. Or if you would like to jump on the tree, in the case of Wally the Wombat, or anyone like him, you are going to need to successfully accomplish 4 successes in 2 rolls.
I'm sensing a deep need for bennies.
Indeed. All right, so
Let me know if you need any.
we're going to start with
Owen
Pryor the
will
skunk.
run.
Pryor, what are you doing? Are you running or are you jumping onto the tree?
Did Pryor get a full night's rest? Yes, Pryor's running.
All right, go ahead and make those athletics rolls. You have 3 rounds here to do it. So you get a total of 3 rolls. That's what's going to happen.
3 rolls, not 4.
4 rolls, and you need 6 successes. 4 rolls, sorry.
Ooh, we've got an explosion. That's nice. So 8 on the first one.
Okay, so that's 2 successes.
Yep.
Roll again.
It's a 4.
So that's a 3rd success. You need 1 more. Also, and I should have said this at the beginning, if you roll double 1s, clears your successes, and you are caught by the tree.
Good times. Thanks for telling me now. Another 4.
Okay, so that's 4 successes.
Can I?
That's your 4
How many
successes.
do I need?
You need 4. But you do have to play out the last 2 rounds of your
Right.
thing. Which means you do have a
Okay.
chance to get double 1s still.
Okay.
So roll again. You have 1 more roll here.
No, I explode with a 9.
All right. So yep, you managed to very successfully outrun that tree, which we will cover what you see once we find out which of your friends see it with you. Owen,
Okay.
are you outrunning the tree or are you jumping onto it?
Owen is running.
All right. 4 rolls.
Or
Okay, so that's 1.
another 4.
That's 2.
Five.
That's gonna be 3. You need 3 successes in these last 1 roll.
Mm-hmm. Seven, but so I think I'll let the tree catch me.
All right. We will narrate what happens when the tree catches Owen here in a moment. Sarah, is Sadie leaping onto the tree or outrunning the tree?
She's a squirrel, so I think she'd leap on the tree.
All right. So you need 4 successes within 2 rolls using athletics.
Okay. And she has free runner, so she can use that +2 with her athletics roll. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
She got a 7 on the first roll, but I'm gonna Benny it and see if I can get better.
Okay.
did indeed get better. She got a 21.
All right. So you're sitting at 5 of your successes, but you got one more round here. You can still roll double ones.
Less leaping on and more just assuming the position and like hopping once and like the tree just
Yep. Just wink.
catches, just perfectly sitting on a branch.
She does that great. She got a 10.
All right. So with those 7 successes, you watch and you see Owen try to run, and you're kind of ahead, and you see Owen try to run, and Owen just gets like dragged under the tree. And there's that kind of moment of horror. You see Pryor just bolt and just on all fours, just going. Horrible stench just following Pryor as she goes, because I'm sure she's incredibly nervous at the moment. You see Wally like kind of lining up, preparing to jump, and you just sort of turn and look and then turn your back and extend your arms out, and then you just push yourself up on your tail and free fall backwards, and you just land perfectly in this little like Y crook of branch, and you just land there, and as you look up, there just happens to be an acorn, and you pull the acorn down and start to gnaw on it as you just ride your chariot in the direction that's necessary. Wally, you're jumping on it. I need 4 successes and 2 rolls.
I got it cost me some bennies, but I managed to get 10s on both rolls.
Okay. All right. So you do indeed manage to successfully get there. How many bennies did you spend?
2.
All right. So you as well clamber up into a position, and underneath you just hear and Owen, for your failure, you will receive 1 point of fatigue. And you finally find yourself, as you come out from underneath the tree, all battered and bruised, you kind of look over, and you're like weakly hanging on to this piece of root and just scuffing along on your face. And you look over, and you see a shell just bouncing along next to you. But yeah, you have arrived.
You need to improve your technique there, young fellow. We're going to have to work on your personal physical training.
All right. And you guys arrive. The movement all stops. You hear some rumbling underneath. And you see in front of you as Sherman and Owen, you help Sherman escort him up because you can see up to where your friends are. And you are all standing on kind of this ridge. And you have emptied out into what looks like the side kind of sweeping cliff of Barleywine Basin. And you look down and you see that Barleywine Basin has actually been converted into some kind of strange war camp, almost. You see that the trees that have been used are being run through some kind of large sawmill and are being constructed into a massive fort at the head of the basin. And all around you see camp after camp, and tons of tents. And you got dragged along for quite a ways, because it is now actually, despite having happened at breakfast time, you do remember you were quite a ways away from the basin still. So it is now approaching evening, and the sun is going down, and you see campfires just everywhere. And as you all kind of get out and kind of just instinctively move off to the side, you watch as the log is pushed off and it slides down this chute, and you see a bunch of the moles and some gophers, and in fact, several beavers gather up the tree and begin to move it off toward this sawmill.
Crikey,
Sure.
this place is chock-a-block.
Sherman will peer. He'll stare very silently for a moment. He'll look at Sadie. I can't see anything. What's going on?
Oh, yes. Yes, there are moles and beavers, and they're taking the trees to a big sawmill. Yes, there are many campfires out there. Many. This is indeed Bedlam.
Well, this is going to get awkward. I'm not sure how we're going to keep all those prisoners. We'll have to figure that out when they surrender. All right, let's go then.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe we should take a prisoner, find out what is going on, ask questions. Yes.
Good
Ask what
idea.
they did with the ravens and the hares that we sent.
Prior's going.
Okay. Give me a notice roll, those of you who are not hard of seeing.
Mechanically, it's technically just a -2, but I just like the idea that you can't even make the roll right now.
I mean, in the dark with just campfire light, you're
Yeah,
probably just like,
yeah.
it's just a sea of orange, right? Like, 5,
6.
6, 10. Sammy? Oh, you're hard of, are you hard of seeing?
I have glasses, but I don't imagine I have them still.
Nope, probably not at this point. You probably have also lost them in your epic journey. So both of your seeing people are struggling right now. But as you look out, you can see that there is one tent kind of cordoned off, and it is heavily, heavily guarded. And with your high roll there, Prior, you're able to make out that not only is it guarded, Owen. Owen, with your high roll, you're able to not only make out that not only is there a tent down there, but that tent actually has a large barricading fence built around it. And you reach down and you produce a plot-appropriate spyglass, and you look through it, and you see that there are actually several hares down there and several ravens who have had their wings bound to their bodies, and they're just sort of walking around in this captivity, guarded by what looks like probably at least 2 weasels that you can see.
Those weasels. Those wily weasels.
Wily weasels on watch.
Mm-hmm. I'm there. Owen sees. I see. They seem to have our scouting parties in that tent over there. I think.
Then obviously we gotta go rescue them. Why are we still looking?
Obviously.
That's a good idea. Let's go.
And
I may be able to sneak down there and
Yeah.
get some.
As you look out over the camp and you take stock of what is present in this bedlam of a situation, you hear an omnipresent voice narrating your story from above that seems to indicate it was then that our heroes realized they probably couldn't handle this army by themselves, but they could certainly get those prisoners home. And then it does, as the narrator indicated, dawn on you that that's probably true.
Excuse me. Could
Yes.
you shine a light on this? I just need the area where we're supposed to go highlighted a little bit. It's hard to see down here.
And in that moment, as the clouds part, the moon, full and rich in that single instant, just highlights that small tent surrounded in some kind of wire and stakes and sharpened sticks. And,
Owen's respect for Sherman has just.
and down
And
below in the spyglass, Owen, you take a look and you see one of those hares. His ears have flopped back and they're matted and sad. His tail is no longer bushy. It is in fact, quite bare. And he just looks up into the moon. And you just see him pull out a harmonica and just slowly start to play. And it just ghosts across the basin to you. Just this sad rendition of Home on the Range as he stares up at that moon.
Oh,
Nice.
because it takes Sherman so long to get anywhere, he's setting off now while the rest of the group decides what we're doing.
Okay.
Owen,
Mate, so I had some worries, but I reckon that avoidance is dinky die, and if we get a fair suck of the salve, we might be able to get them blokes back out. He starts following Sherman.
Pryor doesn't have any idea what just happened, but Pryor's running towards
so is
the
Owen.
camp. I want to say stealthily, but I don't think that's Pryor, really.
Owen is stealth.
Well, and even
Stealthy
if it was, there's this
heroic.
clanking, plate-wearing turtle heading off in front of you.
Who is no doubt, by the way, singing a marching song because, why wouldn't he be?
Yep. The turtles go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. The turtles go marching one by one, hurrah. And then off on the up ahead, you just hear, it's a different sound. It's not your usual songbirds. It's just this soft kind of crooning of some sort of falcon, who are not usually songbirds, but they do fly above prairies fairly often. And as it settles down on an outcropping of rock, it begins to croon along with Sherman in his marching song. And within probably a couple of hours, the moon has once more hidden, and you find yourself having made your way along the ridge and descended down and made your way along a new ridge and descended back and switched back. And you are now hiding behind an outcropping of rock overlooking this prison camp. And you do indeed see 5 hares, and you see 4 ravens with their wings bound tightly to them, looking heavily distressed. And there are, as far as you can see, 2 weasels stationed at the front gate. What would you like to do?
Just want to qualify how one of his alchemical powers work.
Okay.
Hardening Agent 61A has a duration of 5. That's 5 rounds of combat, or how's that work?
5 rounds of combat.
All right.
Yep.
So how many rounds of combat will it take for Sherman at a full tilt, as such as it is for Sherman, to make his way over to the weasels?
I would let you use an athletics roll to essentially hop up, suck your arms and your head into your shell, and ride the slope and arrive
fantastic.
at the weasels.
There is one technical issue with this, which is that his athletics is a sub-zero stat. And so does anyone else have athletics who would be willing to play Frisbee Turtle?
Yes.
I like everything about this plan, and I'm going to
So,
put a floating
I
Benny
have it.
out there.
I feel like
for
someone
this
else has
plan.
probably. I have it, but I feel like someone else is probably better.
Athletic?
I think it's going to take more than one of you. So what's going to happen, essentially, I'm going to give you a floating Benny because I love this plan and I want this plan to be a thing. Sherman is going to suck everything in and go down on the back of his shell. And it is going to take Wally and Pryor shoving Sherman with an athletics roll to get there. And the way it's going to work is between the 2 of you, in order to get Sherman to the front gate this turn, you need to get 3 successes between the 2 of you.
Do it.
You are muted, Michelle.
You are muted.
Mate, you're really bottling your blood's worth this one.
So Sherman, while they're getting prepared, is going to reach into his backpack, pause, look into his side pouch. No, it's not there either. Oh, it's in this one over here, and take out a concoction and basically begin oiling his shell with this semi-noxious concoction, which then begins to harden like basically a sheen of limestone, encasing his shell and armoring him up.
Yep. Go ahead and give me the
So-
spellcasting roll. We should have had you do this up front, but we'll just do it now.
Truth. Also 1 success.
Okay, so that's one.
It's an 11, so
well,
2
a
successes.
4, so
All right. Yep. So you guys are good.
Okay, so I came up with a 5.
Okay, so that
On
will
the
be
spellcasting
+2 to your toughness for the next 5 rounds.
All right, so it gives him a toughness of 14 for this scene.
Mhm.
But literally, his intention is to go screaming down this hill on his shell, slam headlong into the front gate like a tortoisinal battering ram, unpack himself, look at the 2 weasels, and explain to them how such crap guards they are that a turtle could have snuck up on them.
Indeed. I
Does
like
he
this.
actually literally go screaming down the hill?
Well, yes, because this is probably the most terrifying thing he's done since he was a small turtle.
Right.
Okay. So the screaming will alert the other guards. Wally and Pryor, you have spent your drop turn shoving your turtle battering ram down the hill. Owen and Sadie, what are you guys doing?
I was trying to be stealthy and sneak around to the guards. But then I hear this turtle screaming down the hill, and I'm like, why do I even bother?
Yeah, so with that description, I'm going to say you're like actually approaching the guards. You're probably within like a run to the guards at this point. You've got your spear down low, you're crouched on the ground, and others can just hear this, ha, hoi, and just this very goofy scream. And you just see this turtle shell just rocketing forward, smashes into the gate collapses down backwards, and then up he pops.
Noticing that the turtle was going to cause a ruckus, Sadie took off running for a different wall where the guards wouldn't see her, so she can scamper up the wall and into the area where the prisoners are to start setting them free.
All right, give me. So what are you doing, Owen? Now that you've lost your element of surprise. Sadie, you are going to be a multi-action penalty on your athletics roll to get over the wall. And the wall has had like spiked wire wound around the top of it. So which you can't really see until you get there because of the lighting. So you are going to take damage going over the wall here. But give me your athletics roll first. At a -2 because you did have to run, and the way we do cinematic combat, when you just say, I'm running, we just add something to your pace that's your maximum amount of pace, and I determine if you can get there.
Okay, so but then free runner would make that a flat roll?
Yep.
Okay. $13.
Okay. Yep. And you're going to take a whole 1 point of damage from the barbed wire as you go up over, and you'll drop down in 3-point stance, tail up behind you. You know, bow gripped in the hand that doesn't land on the ground as you land. And all of the prisoners look at you. It's Sadie the squirrel.
Yes, I am here to rescue you. But oh nuts, that hurt. That fence has spikes.
Yes, that's why we haven't hopped over it.
Quickly, I need to undo your bonds. Yes.
Okay. Owen, what are you doing?
Well, I'm going to follow the big hole in the wall that the turtle made.
All right. You will have to go past the weasels. So essentially, a run is going to get you to stand more or less side by side with Sherman at this point.
The objective here was literally for Sherman to take advantage of the high toughness and literally have the weasels focusing on him by virtue of him nattering at them. So if literally I want the rest of the group to be able to sort of parade on past while he's dressing these two weasels down for their incompetence.
Yep. Yeah. He just can't cover the distance this turn.
Mm-hmm.
But he can get to like the doorway. But they are all paying attention to you. Okay. Prior. 6 of clubs. Owen. Ace of hearts. Sadie, 2 cards for hesitant. King of spades and the 9 of hearts. Sherman. Queen of clubs. Sam, hesitant, draw. Gives us a 7 of hearts and a 5 of diamonds. Your bonus draw is a 2 of clubs, which will be useless for any of your friends. Weasel 1 pulls a 9 of clubs. Weasel 2 pulls a 6 of spades. First up is going to be Owen. They are currently quite distracted, and you can very much, if you would like to, go into the holding pen.
I will go in.
Okay, something to keep in mind, something as a GM I will point out. Presently, these 2 weasels have not raised any sort of alarm. How long that continues is yet to be seen. So if you would like to go in, you are welcome to, but I will give you the slight meta knowledge of on their turn, they're probably going to try and raise some sort of an alarm.
Yes, I'm going to go in and attack with my spear.
Okay. All right, go ahead and swing a fighting roll at one of them. You do get a +1 gang up bonus because Sherman is here being a threatening turtle.
So that will negate the fatigue. So
Indeed.
Four.
That is not going to hit.
Mm-mm. But I'm going to use my last Benny. I'm going to use the Benny.
Okay, you have a floating, so we'll burn that.
Six.
That'll hit.
Strength plus D6. 10.
Okay. He is indeed shaken. And has 1 wound. Okay.
All right.
All right. Next up is going to be Sherman. Owen has stabbed one guy with a spear who's right there next to you.
Okay, so mechanical multi-action, taunt and taunt the one. I can't tell if it's persuasion or taunt makes more sense. Literally, he's going to basically tell him, "You're so incompetent that this bloody big otter just walked up and shanked your buddy. Get down on the ground and give me 10." And while the weasel's busy doing push-ups, he's going to beat the other guy with his walking stick.
Okay, so it is going to be a taunt roll on the one guy at a -2, and then a fighting roll at the other guy at a -2.
Okay, so that exploding wild card. So that's a base of 6.
Cool.
Second exploded, so we're up to a 12.
12. Okay.
3 times.
Okay.
Okay, this is getting ridiculous. I'm changing dice because that's 4 and I feel bad. To a 24 on the taunt at this point.
All right. So there's no way.
And that was a 3. So it's a 27 on the taunt.
Okay, and he rolled a 2 to resist. So he is in fact shaken and vulnerable and distracted. I need you to please roll 2d6 They do not explode, but I would like you to add them together for me.
Sure thing. An 8.
All right. Okay. So indeed, the way this is going to work. So I had you roll on the creative combat table, and because that was a lot of raises, you rolled for shaken, but he was already shaken. So we will jump down to a setback. So what happens is he is so messed up by what you are yelling at him that he does indeed throw down his kind of Weasley halberd and just drop and start doing push-ups as you turn and whack his friend with your cane. So fighting roll.
And naturally, Sherman will then be, non-mechanically berating the other guy for being so incompetent that his buddy that he hasn't started doing push-ups with his buddy.
Yep. All right.
You
give me a
triggered his
fighting roll
boot
of
camp
-2.
PTSD.
Fighting roll was a 3, so it's clearly going to be a miss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're kind of busy yelling at him, but that's fine. Okay. So that brings us to the guy who was shaken by first thing. We'll try and unshake, and we'll get a 2. So he will not. Brings us to next on the list is going to be Sadie.
She's going to try to cut the bonds on as many of the hares and ravens as she can.
Yep. So you can get all 3 ravens, or you can get all 4 hares. Essentially, because the ravens are harder because you have to not cut wing in the process. And I'm too lazy to figure out what combination, so you're going to just literally pick a subgroup of people and free all of them.
She'll do the ravens first.
Okay.
So if things all go wrong, maybe one of them can fly back and tell everybody what happened.
Yep. So you cut those ravens free. They immediately start to kind of shake out their limbs. They won't be able to take off this round because, their wings have been bound for a couple of weeks now, but they'll probably fly out soon. Next on the docket will be Pryor.
I don't know if skunks can gallop, but that's what
can
Pryor's doing.
Okay.
Yeah, the word gallop seemed more appropriate in my head.
I believe you. Still just running.
Is the movement.
Definitely still just running.
Just galloping towards the nearest, as close as she can get to the nearest weasel.
Okay. You can.
Hey, Remen. Thank you. Raiding with a party. Hey.
Thank you very much. Hello. Yeah, so you'll be able to essentially get there, but you won't be able to get in combat range this turn at a full run. And with a raid, we do have a floating Benny to spend, so keep that in mind. Thank you very much for the raid. And that brings us to Wally, whose turn it is now.
Probably just he's a bit slower to build up speed, but once he gets there, he gets there. But he's just following after Pryor.
Okay. Yep. So same thing. Full run will get you to the gate, but not quite in combat range. Thank you very much. That'll put us at 2 floating bennies. So remember that, crew.
Wow. Awesome.
So thank you very much for
Thanks.
that, Michael Wayne. Okay.
Thank you.
New round of initiative. Pryor, 10 of clubs. Owen, Queen of Hearts. Sherman, 2 cards for hesitant. One is a 9 of spades. The other is 5. Sorry, you're not the right person.
Sherman doesn't have hesitant.
Right.
No.
Nope. Sorry. Sadie has hesitant. So I drew for the right person, but the wrong name. 9 of spades and the 5 of clubs. So 5 of clubs is your card. Sherman, you will get the 3 of spades. Wally, with your Those face cards you keep throwing away. Jack of Hearts with a 3 of Hearts, so we'll throw that Jack of Hearts back to nothing. Pull your additional card, which is an Ace of Diamonds, which I'm guessing you're going to give to Sherman instead of that 3.
That sounds like a good plan, yes.
Okay. And one of the weasels is actually out of the fight. He quite literally is just going to do push-ups. He's not actually in it. So the shaken and wounded guy is a 5 of Hearts. So he is presently shaken and wounded. And that brings us next to first person on the docket with that gifted ace, Sherman. You have a guy that you've convinced to do so many push-ups that he's passed out of exhaustion. And you have one.
Serves him right. He should have done more body training.
Okay.
Okay. So there's one guy left.
Yep.
So Sherman is just going to continue nattering at him about how bad he is at being a henchman and just beating him with his cane.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
And that's a 4.
All right. That will not hit.
You'd expect so. No.
Okay. That will bring us to Owen. One guy left.
Well, try and hit him a second time.
All right. And I, just so you're aware, Michelle, mechanically, I did add your gang up bonus for Owen being there, which is a +1, but it's still.
Oh, I'd totally forgotten about it. So yeah, okay.
No worries. But Owen, you do have a +1 gang up bonus here.
6.
Yeah, that's going to do it. That'll hit. Roll that beautiful damage.
Uh, 8.
8 will, he's already shaken, so he's just still shaken, as is the way of shaking. Okay, so that brings us now to Pryor. You can very easily get into combat range with this shaken weasel. As you look and you see another weasel who's just like laying on the ground, like gasping for breath, rubbing at his chest like, oh.
You need to do the more often. It would help. And Pryor's going
Good
to
tip.
punch the other one in the face.
All right. Roll that fighting roll.
Six.
That'll hit. Damage away.
So with 2 of us there,
6.
that's actually an 8, right? Mechanically.
Yep. Yeah, but didn't quite
Mhm.
hit. Didn't hit a raise yet.
I am going to use a Benny.
Okay.
Damage.
So pulling one of those floating bennies.
Eight. Still shaken, right?
Still just shaking. Okay.
No, I'm going to rest on it.
All right. He's up next with an attempt to unshake, which he would have done if he weren't wounded. So he does not. As he rolls a 4, -1 from the wound, sitting at a 3, brings us to Sadie the squirrel. You can free the rest of those hairs.
So did they actually make a hole in the gate?
Mm-hmm.
Would she be seeing what's going on out there?
Yeah, you can see them all trying to
So-
beat up on this one incredibly resilient weasel and another who's really not as resilient because he's just panting from doing push-ups.
So does she have a clear shot if she just turns around but stays in her spot?
No, not to stay in your spot. You would need to move.
Okay. Then she's just going to go ahead and free the hairs.
Okay. So you free the hares. The ravens and the hares are going to act on your turn. You free the hares. The hares are going to bum rush the door and essentially get to the doorway this turn. But the ravens have a flight speed. and they are going to attempt to peck at / scratch at the imprisoning weasel that they dislike so much. 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's going to roll a 9 on the attack. 6, 7, 8, 9 again. So still just shaken. 6, 12, 18, 19. So he'll get an additional damage dice here. He will do a 11, which is in fact enough to do shaken and an additional wound. So he's going to sit at 2 wounds. And the other 2 are going to roll 1s. So they do not manage to hit. Okay, that will bring us to Wally. This poor weasel is currently being swarmed by a turtle and a skunk and an otter and 4 aerial assailants of black feathered form. What would you like to do? You are muted.
I'm muted.
Indeed.
Mate, I reckon you might be a bit ridgy-didge, but if you don't rack off, you're going to get rooted.
Crikey.
Well, that doesn't have an R in it at all. I want to try to taunt him to make him vulnerable.
Okay.
$11.
He rolled a 1 and has -2. So he's just going to throw down his weapon and just like put his hands up over his head and protect himself from the birds. And he just looks around and he's like, those prairie dogs aren't paying me enough for this. All right. So
Like the
effectively,
prairie dogs.
yep, effectively combat will be over. You guys have managed to capture 2 weasels. And under the barely rising light of sunrise, you're able to sneak back up the wall of the basin and crest that ridge and locate plot appropriate cover within some hills. And it is there that you question both the prisoners and the weasels and learn that there was a blight upon this year's crop of barley. And in fact, there has been a blight upon the past 3 years' crop of barley. But the blight has gotten so bad that the prairie dogs have not been able to supply enough for the demand. And so what they have determined to do is the prairie dogs feel that they have been forced by business demands and contracts from the greedy capitalist Fenchurch Forest people to run their ground into depletion, and that the blight is not actually a disease, but is in fact the land not being able to sustain the crop at present because they haven't been able to take care of it to meet up with Fenchurch Forest's orders. And so they've decided that they're going to use Fenchurch Forest's own resources to construct a fortress. And they are going to use their vast wealth, which has been obtained with this Barley Empire, to declare war upon the forest folk by using their vast wealth to hire essentially mercenaries to do their war for them, which is where the weasels have come from. And these camps are mercenaries that are being paid by the fortune of the prairie dogs to muster and march upon the unsuspecting folk of Fenchurch Forest.
So Sherman is going to listen to this, and at some point he'll give a very squinty eye. In spite of he'll actually put the monocle back in place in spite of there being no glass left in it, and give them a very squinty eye.
Okay.
And so, I want you, as soon as my friends are done talking to you, to go back and tell your boss that you met me, and I said that if they so much as cross the line, I'll be here waiting for them, and you know what happened to you two when that actually happened the last time, and you don't want that to happen again. So you're gonna have to not have that happen again. Do you understand me?
Also, you should tell them that crop rotation is a thing. It's a thing. They should learn how to do it. It helps. Also, tell them that you have met Sadie the squirrel. And if they continue on this,
Sadie the squirrel.
they will end up like Barbara the beaver. Because I will rally the squirrels. Yes. Yes, I will. Yes.
And if they want tips, I heard peanuts are a really good crop to help neutralize, add nutrition to the soil. So I heard. Peanuts.
Good job using I, Owen. Good job. Yes.
And
I did, didn't I?
a good job. You did it. But you, weasels, don't make sure they don't bring an army, because if they do, I'll probably get nervous, and you won't like it when I'm nervous.
I don't like it when she's nervous.
Mate,
Okay. What?
you're telling us that they couldn't grow some crops, and instead of looking into some better farming techniques, like they've just given you some good oil just then, instead they went to war, and you're telling me that's not a furphy?
And he looks down. He's like, I have fur feet.
Not what? Never mind.
And he blinks. We'll tell him.
It's just an iffy plan, mate.
I mean, there's thousands of us. They've got.
And how are they
weasels.
feeding you?
Oh, they have lots of stored barley.
Oh,
Well, that
Makes
seems
sense.
silly.
Well, I mean, they have to make the wine somehow.
Just 1 second here. Are you telling me that they've been chopping? You've been getting the moles to pull the trees down, run them underground, the ground that the plants grow in, and not using the tree material to rejuvenate the soil. Instead, they're talking about paying you with stuff they're using to make wine. Have you not noticed in this plan that they're using your paycheck?
I mean, they also have a lot of other stuff. I mean, I don't know.
You weasels aren't very. You're really not thinking this through. I tell you what. Tell specifically your boss that if you guys come work for us, you probably get a better deal, because amongst other things, we've actually got food to give you, as opposed to making it into wine to sell to somebody else.
Did you get that, Brett? Yeah, no, I heard him.
Wait, you're called Brett the Weasel?
Yeah.
I'm Prior the Skunk.
Okay.
Did your family get disowned too?
No. Weasels think alliteration is stupid.
I'm willing to overlook that. I like the idea.
Right. All right, well, we'll tell Pete. Can we go now?
Sherman will look at everyone else and kind of shrug and yes, no.
Mm-hmm.
So Sherman will send them off packing, waving his stick at them as they retreat, basically making sure they understand that they're going to be listening to him as long as they're in audio range. So the faster they leave, the faster they don't have to listen to him.
Okay. So they indeed hurry off quite quickly. You and your hares, the ravens have been sent ahead with information. You and your hares progress back, and you find your way back to the estuary near Corners, where indeed Phineas is waiting. And with the help of the current and his refound salmon, you guys make quick progress up the river to the river mark. However, as you arrive at the river mark, you find it largely deserted, save for Clive the chipmunk. And Clive is in a panic, and he looks at you. The ravens got here, but they were too late. The west end of Fenchurch is burning. And on that bombshell of information, we will end this evening's one-shot of Bedlam at Barleywine Basin. I would like to thank all of my players over there in the storybook for joining me this evening for this crazy, wacky adventure of crittery folk. I had a good time. Hope everybody else did. Thank you so much to those of you in chat who hung out for our shenanigans. Hopefully you guys had fun. Thanks so much again for the raid from Robin and for the gifted sub, Michael Wayne. That was very gracious of you. I've been Eric Taylor. I've been your storyteller. I'm going to do quick outros with the cast over there in the storybook. Then we'll cover a few things and we'll get out of here. So we're going to start with Sam. How are you? What'd you think? How's
I'm good.
Crittania for you, since this is way sillier than what you do every Monday?
Yes. I mean, I went in and really my only objective was to use more Australian slang than I have ever used in my entire life. Which is not a high bar, but I still think I did it.
You did, yeah, you did fine. I think I caught up with some of it. That's about all I could do. Sarah, our RP game beast herself, you played Sadie the Squirrel. I love Sadie's method of talking. It's one of my favorite aspects of any character you've ever played. What'd you think? How did it compare to the first one?
I think it was just as fun as the first one. I'm kind of hoping there might be another one sometime. I like being this neurotic squirrel.
There are many, many Crittanian tales to be told, and I continue to just find ways to weave them all together. I mean, the west end of Fenchurch is on fire, so probably got to figure out something to do about that. Someone who is also here for the second time, once again starring in a Crittania game, Jeff. How are you? How'd you find it? What'd you think?
It was fun. Owen is making progress on his speech therapy. So he doesn't always speak in the third person. He sometimes speaks in the third person.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
He is doing better. Chantel, how are you?
I'm good. I'm significantly less nervous than Prior, and I'm loving Prior. This game is fun.
I'm glad you had fun. And then our first time guest here on the channel, Michelle. How are you? How'd you find it? What'd you think?
Loved it. I had a tremendous amount of fun. I love the format. The dice system is still a little bit of a learning cliff for me, but I can see the charm to it. The 27 really did feel awkward, but that's cool. I mean, the result was just so delightfully silly that yes, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I just adore the entire premise. So yeah, this has been great.
I'm glad you had fun. All right, I'm gonna plug things really quick for people because I forgot to have you do it. On Monday, you can find Chantel B here on Do Respite for Storyteller Studio, followed up quite quickly then by Paddington Prowler. Sarah is the same. You can see all their Twitter handles all there, all around. Please follow all of these wonderful people. Jeff will be back next Saturday with the return of Somerset City. Sam over there at the real_Sammy P. He will be here on Monday for Paddington Prowler as well. And then up above, our special guest tonight, Michelle. You can find him at MichelleV69. He is the GM on Unlawful Disorder on the Roll Society on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can find Chantel, you can find Sam, you can find Drew from Wednesday, and you can find regular Jamie there every Saturday playing that game. So you should go watch it. It's a good, fun 5th edition D&D game with some cool story and a really, really deep world that I'm impressed with as someone who's created several myself. And I'll admit I don't get impressed by people's worlds often. So I'm really impressed with this one. So
Thank you.
I've been Eric Taylor. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Do Respite Programming. This has been Bedlam at Barleywine Basin. It's a Crittania game. Crittania is my wildlife setting, woodland creature setting that I play with my kids. So it's intended to be family friendly for my 8-year-old and my 3-year-old. Then Do Respite's my thing. We tell stories here. We're here every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Saturday at 9 p.m. Mountain. You can find us in 3 ongoing weekly games in our weekly talk show. The next time you'll see us back is on Monday for Storyteller Studio, followed by Paddington Prowler at 10:30. All times are Mountain. But until then, we hope to see you. Go have fun. Good night. Good luck. I'm Eric Taylor, and on behalf of Chantel, Jeff, Sarah, Michelle, and Sam, stay safe, stay home, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.